Welcome to the Creative Visionaries Podcast. My name is Tori Barker, a digital marketing specialist, business owner, mom, and you guessed it, a creative visionary. This podcast is about inspiring business owners, building connections, sharing success stories, and motivating others. Join me on this journey as we tap into your true potential and unleash your inner visionary. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us again on the Creative Visionaries Podcast. I am so excited to welcome our guest today, Lisa Shawver. And Lisa, why don't you take a minute to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Shawver, and I have been a past Olympian. I played softball in the Olympics. I played on the first women's professional baseball team, the Colorado Silver Bullets. I've written a couple of books, children's book and adult. And from my athletic experiences in particular, but just life experiences, we have the 5 rings of success. Love to share it all with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, when I was preparing for the interview today, I was looking at the list that Lisa had provided of ideas of topics that we can talk about. And I was going through the list and I was like, yes, I want to talk about that. Yes, I want to talk about that. Yes, I want to talk about that. So I had to narrow it down to just a few, but I want to have you share first on tapping into your greatness. Can you tell us about that concept and how that applies for you and where that came from?
Yeah, so tapping into your greatness it's for me, it's my 4th ring, which is utilizing visualization. So it's just learning to concentrate, to visualize, and that self-fulfilling prophecy, because what we tell ourselves actually happens. I mean, have you ever said, oh, I want to get a new blue, whatever, Honda Civic? And then that's all you see because that's what you're focusing on. So you see them. And the same thing is, and that's why I have a vision board. I mean, that's not necessarily part of that ring, but I have a vision board because that visualization, that's what it is, visualization. It's right there. I can see it. So you focus on it. What you focus on is what happens. So that's just a small part of how you tap into that greatness, by telling yourself, or by visualizing, by concentrating, by focusing, by telling yourself the positive things that you need to do, and hear for yourself, so that you are creating that self-fulfilling prophecy. So instead of saying, I can't do this, well, if you tell yourself you can't, you can't. And if you tell yourself you can, obviously. And I think I've been that way, having that positive attitude. Yes, we all get a little bit down and whatever, and we have to, refocus or maybe have somebody tell us, hey, what's up? You don't usually say that. And it's like, oh, you're right. So, that pattern interrupt. But bottom line, you need to stay positive. And by doing that, you can keep focusing on the next thing. Maybe you have a dream that you've always wanted to start a business. You're not going to be a millionaire overnight, but you're thinking about that. You're thinking about starting it. And next thing you know, you're writing down all your ideas of what you want to do. The next thing, you're visualizing that logo, and you're visualizing that storefront, or visualizing that website. It's that self-fulfilling prophecy. You're tapping into your greatness that everyone has inside them. We can all achieve anything. Just a most recent example, I've always wanted to take ballroom dancing lessons. I'm talking for years. And I haven't. I've asked my husband, and oh, maybe, I'll think about it. Oh, maybe. And, years and years and years go by. But this last year, one of my coaches and mentors, he gave me permission. He gave me permission to see it and do it and just make that phone call. And I did right after. I said, I'm not waiting. I've waited too long already. And I called. It's been a vision, but it's kind of was in the back, but I let it come to the front. And I took a class, and next thing you know, I'm taking ballroom dance lessons. I'm loving it.
That's awesome.
I'm loving it. But mind you, I was feeling guilty because my mom has recently broke her hip, and I was taking care of her, and a dance lesson is only 45 minutes, but yet I'm still feeling guilty because of that 45 minutes I was giving to myself when, she's in pain and she needs help. And so anyway, I didn't tell her for a couple of weeks. And then I finally did. I can't not share. My mom is everything to me. And I finally said, Mom, I can't come right at this time because I have a dance lesson. Oh, she goes, that's great. Because most moms are going to want you to do what you want to do and love what you're doing. But I still was feeling guilty. Like I wasn't, I was neglecting her or something. So I told her, but one thing leads to another. My mom and dad were divorced when I was 6 months old, so I didn't know him. But out of nowhere, she says, "Well, you know what, honey?" She goes, "Your dad used to teach dance lessons at Arthur Murray," and I'm like, "What?"
Wow! Oh my gosh!
I guess it was in my blood. I guess instead of playing softball, I could have been a ballroom dancer.
There's another path you could have gone down, right?
But I love my sports, and I wouldn't have traded for a thing. But I truly, at this point in my life, I mean, I'm glad I started. I'm glad I did not wait. So you've got it. That self-fulfilling prophecy or that visualization of something that you want to do it, because it may be the thing that brings you that joy, that sense of purpose, and that fun, that exhilaration that you get from that gives you the creativity or lets you step away from stress in your life. Absolutely. And we all need that, because even good stress, even positive stress is stressful on the body. You're getting a new house. Oh my God, I got to pack. I got to do all this stuff. It's still stressful. So you still need to take that time out, and you still need to think about and visualize, in that instance, visualize how beautiful your house is going to be.
Yes.
When you move in, right? It's that visualization of making things happen, and it will.
That's awesome. So the tapping into greatness you mentioned is ring number 4. Is that correct?
Uh-huh.
So why don't you go ahead and tell us about these 5 rings of success, and I want to know how you tie that into your Olympian experience, your experience, playing softball in the Olympics, and then we'll chat more about the Olympics, because I'm a softball player and I want to hear it, and so I want to share that with the audience too. So tell me about the 5 rings of success so that we can go through some business and then talk some fun.
So my first ring is Undivided Commitment. And this is where you'll use your courage, your dedication, and your positive attitude. So, because sometimes it takes courage, right? To step out of that comfort zone to get started in something. And then you need to be dedicated to it. And obviously you have to have a positive attitude. If you're thinking those negative thoughts, once again, or if you're around other people who are thinking negative thoughts, they squash you before you can even get started. So it's so important to be around others. I mean, when you and I were playing softball, we certainly were around other people who wanted to be there. We were with coaches who wanted to, make us better at our sport. It's so important. So to have that positive attitude and surround yourself with other like-minded people. In short, ring 2 is the drive work ethic. And this is where that desire and motivation is what propels you to move forward. And then, of course, you need to set goals. And then, I've worked hard all my life, but I'm definitely learned to work smarter, not harder. It's really important, because you need to take that time out. You need to learn to chunk things down, work in segments, small segments to make things happen. And it's amazing how much, if you know that you only have this amount of time and you focus, you can get that stuff done. Ring number 3 is failure is not the end. And it's certainly not. You need to still have determination, always to move forward. You need to still maintain that confidence. Always having that confidence will help you move forward. And perseverance, because we learn from, or you should be learning from your failures, because what didn't go right? It's not that you were wrong, and it's not that you failed. You just learned another way not to do it. So you need to keep moving forward, because you will find the solution to your problem, or you will find someone who will help you with the solution to your problem. Absolutely. And that's why we surround ourselves with other people, or more importantly, you surround yourself with, maybe you want to be a doctor, maybe you're going to, become a mentee of, some doctor or whatever, if you go to med school, you're going to go to that school because you think that person's the best brain surgeon, or you're going to go to this.
Learn from.
Yes, you want to learn from the best. And so that means you're going to have to step out of your comfort zone and get there, and have the courage to do that. Going back to ring 1. Ring 4 is utilizing visualization. And this is where you learn to concentrate. You have to have concentration, deep focus.
Yeah.
And then visualization, which then ultimately leads to a self-fulfilling prophecy. So for instance, my coach was huge in college. I think this is, I probably did it a little bit beforehand, but it was more of a training that muscle, training that mental muscle. We did visualization and she would lead us through, like when you're hitting even, that it's a watermelon, you know what I mean? You're seeing this watermelon and you're just smashing it or whatever it is, but so you'd see it in your mind before you'd even go out and do it. And so then I would take that on my own and I would start doing for pitching since I was a pitcher. And I would be on a mound. It could be a full count, 3-2, maybe runners on base, and you got to get that 2 outs and you got to get that because you don't want them to score. And I could literally right there, I might even shut my eyes for just half a second. And I could see myself pitching that strike right where I wanted it to. I'd seen it, done it so many times, and bam, it was there.
Yeah.
Maybe 9 out of 10. Whatever, or maybe the umpire didn't call it a strike.
Of course not. Yeah.
But anyway, but you know what I mean? You've done it. You visualized it. You've visualized yourself. An actress probably or actor has visualized themselves walking down that red carpet, getting, to the Oscars, or you visualize that key important moment or that one thing that you need to do. And you just need to learn to do it. And when you see it, you can do it. Anyway, ring 5 is building endurance. And this is where you learn how to manage your stress. It's so important, as I said, whether it's just deep breathing exercises, whether it's refocusing on what's really important, or maybe you have 30 things you have to do, but you know what? Just pick the top 3. Pick the top 3. Set those other 27. They're not going anywhere.
Right.
What are the 3 most important things? Everybody always says, because I do a lot of things. I'm always multitasking. Well, I don't multitask. that could be a misnomer here. I'll come back to that somewhere. But I'm always got lots of ideas and things going on in my brain. And it's really, you focus on one thing at a time. And you might do that, but then you can refocus when it's your next little chunk and maybe work on that second thing. But you can do that certainly with 2 or 3 things. And when one gets crossed off, you've done everything you need to do, bring one of those other ideas into fold. But it's just, learning how to, once again, focus on those things. And ultimately, I call it the 5 rings to build your day, right? You need to create a schedule. I know it sounds, weird, but you just need to get that brain focused in the morning.
Absolutely.
It's like the morning miracle somewhat, but if you've ever heard about that, the miracle morning, excuse me. But it's so important to get the brain focused. Say those maybe 5 to 10 positive affirmations. Remind yourself right at the beginning of the day of what it is that you want to achieve. Once again, leading to that self-fulfilling prophecy. It all kind of culminates and brings all those things together, but you need to have that little schedule of things. And there's like just little tools that I share with people in my 5 rings of success. But I've used all of these my entire life, some of it intuitively just on my own, and then some of it enhanced or learned from coaches or mentors. That's why even I now, I still have a coach. Somebody's teaching me, somebody's mentoring me how to ballroom dance. Somebody's helping me or giving me advice if I have a question on, what I need to do to set this one thing up for a webinar, or, whatever it is, whether it's business or fun, there's always somebody there. So it's just so important to have all those tools around you.
And that's what I love about the 5 rings of success. It can be applied to business. It could be applied to personal life, personal goals, sports, all of the above. And so it's really versatile, and, it can help, even if you think about it in the sense of adults and children. Like, you can even use and utilize and teach the 5 rings of success for kids, for teenagers, and, setting them up at an early age would be, ideal, so that they have this mindset, this visualization, work ethic, all of that stuff.
Back in the day when I used to give pitching lessons, some of my students, I mean, they came back and they would tell me, oh, they said, oh, Lisa did this and this and this. And it was like determination, confidence, drive. I've learned all these tools that I've learned for the rest of my life. It's so important. And just throwing this in there, I have been a teacher, and during that time, and not only that, I also have a dog named Max. And who knew I was even utilizing those, and even my dog as an influencer, or before he was an influencer, we were doing dog agility. So because I had been an Olympic athlete and I just wanted to do something, he was like this wild child, wanted to run around all the time. So I said, well, let's focus in on doing something constructive. I mean,
let's
which is really
that
important.
Energy, right?
That energy, something fun that I might like to do. And he would like to run around, and, you get to do the weave poles and A-frames and all that stuff. And so Max, and so in my, I just recently did a TED Talk, and some of it, I give examples of that with him, so like when you're doing Undivided Commitment, and that's where he's actually showing his courage to go through when it's scary, when he has the first time to go through this long 16-foot tunnel and they've never done it, right? And he's showing his courage by going through that, but he's happy. He wants to be happy. He wants to please me as well. We're a team. So, that's ring one. I mean, we were working on all of that stuff at the beginning. Working smarter, not harder. You break things down into small pieces. So learning how to do a weave pole, and there's 12 of them, so normally there's weave poles. I mean, if these were like little weave poles, they have to go in and out of these. Yeah. They don't do that. Trust me, they don't do that.
First try.
Yeah, no, maybe, and so you set them apart, like instead of being, like this, you set them apart so you get them used to going through that. Yeah. But, it's just learning how to work smarter and smaller chunks, and then you add another, and you add another, and dogs can count. They can count. They do. They know exactly how many weave poles there are. But, I've done that with that part of my life. And when I wrote my children's books, little did I know how all of these rings were still coming out with my Max and Marigold runic in the Crystal Cave, because they go on a journey. Yeah. He gets lost in another world, and he has to have that courage and that determination to find his way back home. So it's just weaved, like you said, in all parts of our life, whether it's home, relationships, your health, work, business, whatever it is that you want to incorporate it into.
That's awesome. So, okay, selfishly, I've got to ask you about the Olympics before we move on, because I want to talk about your books. But okay, so tell me a little bit about your journey through softball. So for my listeners who may not know, I'm a college softball player. I played catcher. I played at Sacramento State, and grew up in the Fresno, California area, which was a huge softball mecca for those of you who know the softball world. And so I was always, as a little girl, of course, looking at the Olympics and softball Olympics, and I want to be in the Olympics. Everybody dreams of it, right? So tell me your journey with softball, and where you played, who you played for, and some of the fun experiences that you had.
So just like anything, at least in my life, I don't know about you, but success isn't a straight line. You start at point A and you're hoping to get to point B, but you know what? You might be before you get to point B. So there's been a lot of curves and a lot of things going, pun intended, since I was a pitcher through a curveball. But anyway, there's been a lot of curves thrown at me in my life, and you've got to learn how to see that and go with it. Be able to shift in your life. But with that said, I started off playing softball when I was 10. I started out playing. I saw these girls walking down the street. I mean, I was walking down the street home, and I saw them at this public school, because I went to private school. I was walking home, and there was all these girls on the softball field. Like, oh, I want to do that. So I begged my mom, and lo and behold, there I was. I finally got to play. But guess what? I just started. I wasn't very good. So, and in Bobby Sox, I don't know if they have that league around anymore, but Bobby Sox, everybody has to play at least 2 innings a week. Guess what? That was me. And they threw me out in right field, thinking that nobody's ever going to go hit it over there to her. So we're going to put her in the worst spot. But you know what? I wanted to do it more. I wanted to get better. In fact, I wanted to pitch. They got to hold that ball all the time. So it was, I did whatever I needed to do. So have a friend, help me with hitting. He would take me, I wanted to pitch. And so he would catch me and the balls were probably going, woo, woo. But finally one day, it was going in there. I finally
Hitting that
got it,
target.
Yeah, but there was no really pitching coaches, right? And well, at least for me, because I didn't have a dad, and most of the dads are coaches, and the dads were working maybe with their daughters on stuff, and it's just kind of a weird, odd little thing going on there. Because as I progressed, I started playing ASA a little bit, American Softball Association softball, and I was playing even adult league when I was only like 13.
Wow.
And this is back in the day. Well, I don't even know if they don't call it that anymore, but AAA ball was pretty much semi-pro, the best you could pretty much do back then.
Yeah.
And one of the M&R Packers, which were here local in Lodi, California, their pitcher had basically pitched a blister somehow in her hand. And they asked me to go up to Vancouver to play softball. Pitch. And I'm like, what? So my mom goes with me and goes up there. What an awesome experience. Should I have been afraid, or my mom? I probably had to talk to her a little bit, but should I have been afraid and not done that? Would I have achieved what I've done? No. You've got to see that opportunity. You've got to seize it. So we went up there, and yeah, I'm a little 13-year-old girl. I'm not the same as a 20 or 30-year-old woman, throwing the ball, but obviously there was something in me that they saw.
Yeah.
And at least I got the ball over, and right, I got a ball over, maybe a little bit better than that. That was an awesome experience, because all of a sudden I had this team behind me, this adult team, right?
Yeah.
No balls are getting through their legs, right? Or the ball isn't hitting and going back like Charlie Brown, right?
Right.
It was awesome to have this team behind you, this support. It was just an amazing experience. But then that kind of just kept fueling me for more. But as I've said, as I played, the fathers usually were the coaches, and unfortunately their daughters were pitchers, and I was a pitcher, and it just seemed sometimes there was a little animosity or something going on there, because if I pitched over somebody else, and so one year when I was 15, we started our own team. We called it NorCal Tremors. It was the first year, and there were already teams out there, so we had about 6 girls from Stockton area and 6 girls from Fairfield area. And we created the NorCal Tremors, and we did go on to win the nationals that year. And that year was the first year they were going to have that team who won nationals go on to Canada for the first junior Olympic team. Now, life, like I said, kind of throws you curveballs and stuff happens, but my mom kind of moved me to Oklahoma, just trying to get me out of this area, thinking the grass is greener on the other side. Well, politics, adults, whatever, everything shifted. I was told not to come to the Olympic Training Committee. I was told not to come to Canada. I was told not to do all of these things. And here's my dream. This was like the first stepping stone, Junior Olympics, to move on. And they're telling me, no. And it's the adults doing their thing. Well, behind the scenes, they're trying to get all the people that I beat or helped beat on our team, they were pulling them in onto this new team. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, you can still have only so many people.
Yeah.
But anyway, I went to Canada anyway. My mom and I flew there. It was probably one of the toughest things I've ever done, but I did there. And of course they still denied me, ignored me, whatever. But so there was a little bit of something there, but I still didn't give up. I went on to college. I went to Texas A&M on scholarship, but life happens. My grandmother died, and my mom and I were the only ones to take care of that. And eventually, we'll skip that story, but I go off to UC Berkeley, and the coach there, I was on redshirting, because when you go from one college to another, you need to redshirt. You can't just go in and play. Right. And she knew she needed to kind of get me back into, I think she knew that she needed to kind of get me back into it. And she's also the one that helped me with not just me, but the whole team with the visualization. But she kind of enticed me, hey, why don't you come with me and we'll go to the East Coast and you can come play and get, situated on and go play with the Puerto Rican national team, and you can just help us out because we need another pitcher. My coach was a pitcher as well. And so I said, okay, and I think she knew she was throwing that challenge, something that I could see, something that I could do. Sometimes we all need that carrot or that positive thing to go towards. And so that was amazing. Thank God she did that. And I went back there, and little did I know I was kind of sort of trying out for the Puerto Rican national softball team, but I made it. And this was in the 80s. Yeah, I was in the mid 80s, early mid 80s. And next thing you know, I'm traveling to New Zealand for the World Championships. I'm going to Venezuela, going here and there. And we had made it. We were supposed to be going to the Olympics back then. But the year before, it got canceled. It was supposed to be in 88. It got canceled. And at that time, I was 22. And I'm thinking, knowing me, it's like, okay, I can't wait. I'm not going to be somebody that's going to play softball for the next 10 years, right? In the hopes that it's going to be in the Olympics. So I moved on with my career. I went on to teaching. We started becoming an administrator. We were working towards that. But then the next thing you know, another curveball hits. Colorado Silver Bullets are saying they're trying, come try out. And my husband, he didn't see me when I played softball. He knew I played. He goes, well, why did you not do that? And one of his friends, who was a professional baseball player and was a professional coach then, knew a couple of the coaches, and he called and found out, how do I do it? And I went, and let me tell you, disaster. Failure is not the end. It was disaster. I go to the tryout place, and there's nobody there.
Oh my God.
I'm like freaking out. Like, where's everybody? So I'm calling up. And this is before cell phones are really huge, right? But it was like 94-ish, 5-ish inning. And I'm calling them saying, please, where do we go? And they're calling. And next thing you know, I find out the new address. It was in Sacramento, by the way. And I'm driving all the way across to some other field. And they're all starting to pack up. Everybody's putting their cleats away. It's almost over. They're going to be there for another 15 minutes. So I'm like running out of the car, throwing on my cleats, do it. And the grass is wet. But it was like February. So the grass is damp because it had been raining. And I get out there. Oh my God, it was the most disastrous. It was like I getting hit well, the ball's skidding. I'm throwing it over there because it was damp, and it was not a good tryout. And I was just like in tears on the way home. I didn't realize how much I wanted to do it. So failure's not the end. I did whatever I needed to do. I found out there was like only 2 more tryouts left. And I went and flew to Colorado in a snowstorm. Had an amazing, I mean, there were some mishaps. We went spinning around in a snowbank at night trying to get there. My mom went with me, and boom, we went into the thing. I'm like, oh my God, we're going to die before we even get there. But we get there, and I had an amazing perseverance, and it was just amazing. So then went to spring training. But the point of that is, even I threw a no-hitter that year with Colorado Silver Bullets. I was able to pitch and do some stuff awesome that year. But when we were in the Oakland Coliseum playing a team, I wasn't playing that day, but they broadcasted on a radio station that happened to hit all the way down to Puerto Rico. And they hear my name, Lisa Martinez, blah, 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 blah. They call me up and they say, hey, did you know that softball's going to be Olympics in 96? Why don't you come and try out, or, not try out, but come and help us get there.
Yeah.
Because at that point they have little tournaments around, and you have to win the tournament or win the section to get to the top 8. And they were only going to let 8 teams into the Olympics. So I said, sure. But I'm like, I snapped something when in the Silver Bullets. You know what I mean? Something was going on over here. I wound up having surgery in February of 96. Bone spur was removed, and I wouldn't let them repair it, because if you repair your rotator cuff, that's like a good 6 months. There's no way I'm going to make the Olympics in July.
Yeah.
But the bone spur was bad enough. They said it was going to take about 3 months, and it pretty much did.
Wow.
But I played other positions, but I was at least able to pitch. But I just worked as hard as I could, rehabbed it, did everything I could. Oh, I missed an incredible story in there, but I made it to the Olympics, and opening day was my birthday. We got to play the US. We lost, but it was amazing. I got to the Olympics. I got to play. I got to pitch. I finally realized my dreams. There was all these little, and if I hadn't have played with the Silver Bullets,
They
if I
wouldn't have
hadn't
recognized
taken
you
that
again.
opportunity and
Yeah.
seized it, and if I hadn't have kept going, even when I had that horrible workout, gone to the next one, then I wouldn't have made the team. And then Puerto Rico wouldn't have heard my name, and I would have never made my Olympic dream. Sometimes you've just got to persevere. You've just got to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
It's never a foregone conclusion. Life happens in mysterious ways, and if you believe in yourself and you believe that you can do things, and you take those steps and those opportunities, it's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, so let's transition, and I want to hear about the books that you've written. So you are an author of Unforgettable, and then you're an author of a children's book, which is Max and Marigold, which is a series. So tell me about Unforgettable. Tell us what it's about, who you think should read this, and why it's so beneficial, and what prompted you to put this in writing and share with the world.
Well, first I had written the children's book, but I will come back to that. But
We can
first
go
I
back.
written
We
the
can go
children's
otherwise.
book. No, that's okay. First I wrote the children's book, but then it was like with my publisher, I'd contracted for like a fourth book, and I'm going, I don't want to write a fourth book, or about Max and Marigold, or oh, maybe I should write a memoir, because this was many moons ago, it seems like, but I actually did the whole thing. I went to New York City. I went to a writing conference and sat in front of publishers and agents and pitched myself and did this like speed dating thing. Think of it like speed dating. 3 minutes in front of you, and you better not talk for more than 90 seconds so that they can talk to you back. And you go through that, right? I did that whole thing. But one of the people said, because of the Olympics, I really want you to write like a young adult book about the Olympics, a girl playing softball in the Olympics. So I was thinking I could do that. And another person there said, we'd like to write a memoir and blah, blah, blah. So I was hemming and hawing on that fourth book that, the publisher wanted me to write. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll do the memoir. And I started that, and I'm like, I don't like the way this is going. And next thing I said, I don't want to do a how-to book, a typical how-to book that's a nonfiction book, like here you do this, follow these steps. I said, stories are so much better. So I wrote a fiction book about a woman who is loving life and has a great job, and next thing you know, she's being called into HR, and they're telling her, sorry, we're canceling you or firing you, and here's your papers, and your whole division's gone. And she decides to chuck those things in the garbage can and continue on and continue working and making herself unforgettable, so that they would keep her and want to keep her and elevate herself to the next level, and then being able to save her department. It's just about the challenges in life, and keep going, even if you think that there's a failure there, the determination to keep going, just to make yourself unforgettable. Because if you are kind to people, if you share that joy, if you find your purpose and you can help pass it on to others, it just makes you more valuable, to others, whether it's friendship or business, whatever it is. So it's just a nice little tale, story about how to make yourself unforgettable.
Awesome.
And then the other books that I've written are the Max and Marigold series. And Max is from my dog, Max. His name is, Instagram name is One Up Max. So I don't know if I alluded to it earlier, or if that was before we started talking, but Max was a rescue dog. So when the economy was bad back in 2008, 9, 10, our business, I wasn't teaching at the time. I had started a new business, and it was just kind of, depressing and kind of getting funky, how things were going. And we had some rental properties, and one of our tenants, they were literally checking out, giving us the keys, and we were giving them their deposit back. And there was this crate in the driveway with Max, this big bone. Hey, I still have it. This big bone.
Oh my gosh.
And a little monkey toy, this little baby monkey toy, smaller than the bone.
Oh, wow.
And there I was sitting, and I said, well, we can't take him with us. Do you know anybody who can take him? We're like, really? You're leaving as soon as I give you your deposit back, and you're just now telling me about that there's this dog that you're going to like
Yeah.
give up,
Abandon.
abandon basically. I'm going, we're going to leave him in the driveway and hope somebody
No.
gets him. No. So my husband was like, no, we'll take him, because we rescue dogs and cats anyway before. So we took him, and I, on the way home, I'm thinking, oh my God, we have so many dogs and cats we need to find. So I found somebody that was going to take him, or the mother was going to take the dog. She was going to come over the next day or this weekend. And she never showed up. That was it. He was mine.
Oh.
All it took was a couple of days, and he's my soul dog. And so he just makes people smile. So I started doing dog agility with him. As I said, yes,
Yeah.
I wanted to do something special with him, and something that is athletic for me too. But he was a wild child, loved to run around. So I just wanted everything to be, a good team right there, and him to be well behaved in life. But as we drive along, he's got one ear up and one ear down, and he's just a little mutt. He's cute, but he makes people smile. And he'll come sit in my lap as soon as it's a stop sign, or stop light, I should say. He knows, and he scratches the door, and he wants me to roll down the window, and he's looking at people, and they're
So
looking at him, laughing and waving, or they'll tell, hey, the kids in the back, oh, go look at that dog.
Yeah.
And they roll down the dog's name, and I've had police officers do the same thing. And so I just wanted to share him. And one time, I was going on a business trip, Southwest Airlines, and I saw the tuna melts my heart, a dog influencer. I said, I can do that. That's how I can share Max. That's how it kind of started. So you write a bit about him every day. And on Instagram, I go, what's Instagram? I didn't have Instagram, Facebook. I had a Facebook account, but I didn't really know. So I had to create one for him. And so that's how it came about. But then I wanted to take it one step further, because I did get back into teaching in like 2012. And I was thinking, well, what could I do? And I said, I want to share the adventures of One Up Max. That's how it started off.
Yeah.
But eventually evolved into Max and Marigold, his little sidekick,
I love
a human
that.
little girl. And basically he gets zoomed off into a wormhole into another complete world. He and then Marigold, from a completely different area, from Ireland, gets zoomed off too. And they're stuck in this new world, and they meet Runic, a baby dragon, and a young dragon, and they go off on an adventure to find these magic stones to help them get back home. So once again, it's about determination, about moving forward, about having confidence and courage, to get through it all. And friendship, getting through it, with your friends. So that's the first one, is Runic in the Crystal Cave. And then the second one, which I'm not quite sure when it will be coming out, because I just literally launched March 23rd, was Max and Marigold, Runic in the Crystal Cave. And then March 6th, we just launched Unforgettable.
Oh my gosh.
So
wow.
both available on Amazon, or you can go to lisashawver.com and you'll find a link there.
Yeah, and I'll have to put a picture for the people that are watching on video, the picture of Max. He's so cute, and literally it's One Up Max, is that what you call him?
One Up Max.
Yeah,
One Up Max.
One
I come up with
ear.
a handle.
So cute.
Always up. Always up. And the only time the floppy ear ever goes up is when he's jumping, when he was doing a jump, or if he's going through the weave poles, that wind, this one's always up, and the wind would cause it to go up, like when you see slow-mo videos,
Yeah. Well, and I shared this with you earlier, but I have 2 young boys who are 5 and 8, and so I'll have to look into the children's book, because I'd love to teach them through reading, perseverance, and all these things that you want to instill in your children as they're growing up. And having a book to kind of facilitate that is exciting. And of course, now meeting you and knowing you and being able to share that with them will be awesome.
Yeah, no, it's a great little adventure. And then the second one, they're back he gets back home, spoiler alert. But the second one is about adventures here, like on Earth at home. And then the third one is in Africa, so some adventures there. So it'll be fun little trilogy.
Did you ever think that you would be an author? I mean, did you ever
now that's something I never had envisioned ever. I mean, until maybe 2000, whatever it was, 15 or 16, whenever, that was nothing that I ever thought I was. I'm a math person. I can write. Well, obviously I can write, but just never thought about doing it. And then, but until something sparked inside of me,
Yeah.
that joy of Max and that joy of wanting to share him with others and spread that joy and that smile. That's how the social media started. And then that's how the book started. Just wanted to share that. And then in writing it, he knew all of those things inside me that I've learned and to empower myself and others just came out in the book as well.
Yeah. And just like podcasts like this, sharing that message and sharing those inspirations and those ideas, you never know how far this message is going to go. And the same thing with a written word, right? This book is going to live forever, and, people are going to read it years and years from now. And so it's so inspiring to know that you're able to share that. And, I truly admire you for that, and I'm glad that we've been able to allow our paths to cross, and so that you and I can share this message and reach however many people we can through the word of mouth and the written word, and it's an amazing feeling.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. Thank you for having me on. It was a pleasure to meet with you and speak with you. I love meeting new people and sharing.
So, is there any way I'll put some links in the show notes, but is there anywhere specific you want people to reach out to you? How can they connect with you? Tell me.
I would say two different ways. One is just my website, lisashawver.com. That will have the book links and 5 Rings and some other TED Talks and podcasts that I may have been on another media. But the other thing is you could go to meetlisa360.com. So literally meet, MEET, Lisa, LISA, and then the number 360.com. And what's great about that site is if you like to connect versus LinkedIn, you're a LinkedIn person, you can go hit, there's like place to connect to LinkedIn or for Facebook or Instagram. So there's different places, or my website, or it can take you directly to a book or the programs. It needs to be updated a smidge, some change, but it's all there, or go to lisashawver.com.
Awesome. Any final inspiring words before we wrap up?
Find your joy and create that, to find that passion and that purpose in life, because that will help you get to the next level no matter what you are trying to do in life.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and I look forward to sharing your message.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for listening to the Creative Visionaries Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure you subscribe, leave us a review, or share with a friend. Also, make sure to visit us online at creativevisionariespodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. And stay tuned for more episodes to come. And remember, it's time to tap into your true potential and unleash your inner visionary.